Another day, another learning. For this episode, we will provide you with some tips on how to write an effective resume and also some advice on how you will ace your interview. There are many ways to write an effective resume and prepare for job interviews online. But for this episode, we will provide you with information coming from the people who are already working in the respective industry and have managed to pass multiple job interviews. We will be interviewing two guests and they will provide us with their insights on how to write an effective resume and how to ace your first job interview.
Hi Leah, hi everyone. My name is Nuwel and I am one of the hosts of this series. But for this episode, I will be one of the guests who will be sharing with you some of the tips on how you will surpass your job interview and also create an effective resume. Okay, to fully introduce myself, I am a graduate of Associate in Computer Technology at Bulacan State University and currently taking up my Bachelor of Arts in Communication at STI College Cubao. For certifications, I have a Lean Six Sigma White Belt certificate issued by Zenvarex and a certificate for digital journalism issued by Reuters. I am currently working as a quality assurance specialist in the contact center industry for almost 5 years already, and currently I am working and supporting the second largest telecommunications in Singapore. Since the beginning of my career, I have received multiple awards such as Best Employee of the Month and also Outstanding QA of the Month. I also successfully surpassed multiple interviews, external and internal interviews, and created a lot of resumes. So the first thing that you need to consider when writing your resume is that you need to make sure that all of the information or details that you will be indicating are valid or authentic. Because most of the employers or all of the employers are validating your resume. So make sure you have the necessary certificates or documents to support all the information that you have. Next, you need to do research so that you know what the employers are looking for. For example, they are looking for someone who has experience in telecommunications and handling social media or email accounts. Lastly, do not indicate unnecessary information because it will only make your resume longer. So make sure that only indicate what's necessary, straight to the point. The most important part of a resume is your job experience. You need to make sure that you indicated properly your previous company, your previous role, and also your duties and responsibilities from your previous roles. Next important thing will be your educational background and also your certificates and licenses, because this will support your experiences and also if you have the qualities that they are looking for a job. Next, you need to indicate also your contact details. You need to indicate your email, your mobile number, home address, and also if you have any websites that the employers can visit or social media accounts, you can also indicate as well, so that if you get hired or we need to give you an update, they can contact you easily. For this one, you need to write your summary statement or resume objective as simple and straight to the point as possible. Most likely, the summary statement or the resume objective is only in a one paragraph. So in that paragraph, the employer should see your background experience. You need to indicate as well your proficiency for the job that you're applying for. Next, you need to indicate your objectives. Lastly, you need to indicate as well the things that you can contribute to the company. If you manage to specifically and straight to the point indicated all of these things in your summary statements or resume objectives, you can easily be hired. For me, a resume should not be that long. As much as possible, you need to write all of your details or information in a one page. Especially if you're only a fresh graduate or you do not have that much experience from the role that you are applying for. So as much as possible, it is only one or two. 2 pages are already long enough for a first job interview. Your first resume should not be that hard because there are a lot of platforms that can help you nowadays to create an effective resume. You need to make sure that all of the information that you will be indicating are true or valid. HR practitioners are validating your resume. Your resumes speaks for yourself, so you need to make sure that all of your details there are correct. I hope that what I have shared with you today can help you to have or create your first and effective resume.
My name is Stephen Allen. I am from a rural area in Mississippi, which is one of the states in the United States. Grew up in a very rural area without a lot of job opportunity. Currently, though, work out of Dallas, Fort Worth, DFW, one of the largest areas and hubs for the airline industry currently in the United States. Currently, I work at American Airlines, the largest airline in the world. I work in crew scheduling the crews and dealing with legalities. I got a degree in aviation operations, aviation logistics and operation supply chain management, to be specific. At the University of North Texas is a very good school for business school, specifically for logistics and for the operations side of business. Got my degree there, and then I applied at American, and I've been at American now for a year. Working in crew scheduling. The airline industry, first of all, is a very hard industry to get into. An industry where you're more likely to get hired if you're already in it. So while I was still a senior at UNT, I applied consistently. I applied to about 20 different positions for a couple different airlines. I would say I got about 8. I would say 8 interviews. Probably did 20 applications, got about 8 interviews, got about 6 offers from those 8 interviews. Fix your resume, make sure you have a nice resume that matches what you want to do, what you want to apply for. You want to make your every resume specific for your job. For the airline industry, most of my interviews were group interviews for the first interview, and then solo interviews for the second. First interviews are typically just senior employees, while the second interviews were usually directors and higher level individuals in the department. On LinkedIn a lot and went and talked to a lot of people who were already in the industry, asked them about what their experiences were like, what they kind of did, what to expect in the interviews, how the job was changing. Also, just the internet is always going to be your best resource because you can look up the company, you can look up their mottos, like what their mission statements are, and those are all good things to know when you go into an interview because you kind of can know what to expect or what the company wants. And back to LinkedIn, networking is a big thing. Meet people, even if you don't know them. Find people on LinkedIn who do what you want to do, who have a good a long background or several sources of knowledge, and 9 times out of 10 people are going to talk about it, help you, because in a professional environment everyone knows that it is important to network, to talk to younger people as well as people who have more experience. Most people are willing to help those who are new to the environment. First off, you should look up the job itself. You want to know what your job expects. With the internet, you have access to a lot of resources that weren't there before to look up different jobs on like Indeed. They'll tell you what the job is like, what salary is, but usually it tells a description. The most important thing I think in job interview is knowing what to expect and what is needed of you so that you can highlight those skills when you get in the interview process. It's hard to say what are the most common questions exactly, but typically most companies are going to ask you questions that are kind of built around the STAR method of answering. So it's going to be questions like, name a time when you worked in a group and had a troublesome member in the group, or tell us a time where you had to deal with time-sensitive goals and how you accomplished those goals under the time crunch. The STAR method is a method of answering questions that's very direct, very logical, meaningful, and it's personalized to you. And so STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. And what you want to do is when you answer those questions is the situation is providing context or a background, set the scene. Task is going to be telling what you're trying to achieve, what the problem you faced is. And the action is what you did specifically that you want to highlight. Your communication skills, your analytic skills, or your ability to work under pressure. And then the result is going to tell you how your actions affected the situation. What you want to do is, before you go into interview, is have several situations that you can modify to answer different questions that are going to be common. A story that highlights your communication skills or highlights your ability to do a certain task. As you practice and get better with this method, you will be able to highlight multiple things in one answer. The questions can change slightly, but you have an answer that's going to fit what they are trying to get from you. You can have a situation for that. So one of the questions I had when I was being interviewed at American Airlines was explain a time where you were working in a group, an individual was not doing their portion of the work, and how did you approach them, or how did you fix it? I mentioned a situation that happened. So my answer was when I was at college, we had a group project where we had 4 individuals in a group. We were all supposed to work with Excel, analyze some information, and then do a cost analysis on airlines. We all had basically did our part except for one person who had not basically turned their work into us. Several members in the group were saying, hey, let's just do it, and then tell the professor that to exclude her because she didn't do her part. And I knew the person usually did their work, so I just told him, like, hey, give me a day or two to go and talk to him real quick and see what's going on. So I talked to the person. Couldn't find out she was not very good with Excel. She did not know how to do a lot of the macros and a lot of the more analytical tools you can use in Excel. And so I taught her how to use it. We got coffee. I sat down, showed her how to use everything in Excel to do the project and little other tools that you would need for other classes. And within the next day, she had everything ready for us and was able to give us her part of the project, and we were able to turn it in, made an A for the project. And that example specifically gives several different things that you're highlighting. First off, you're highlighting your ability to teach, EQ, like you understand how people act and you're willing to go and do the extra work to teach someone. You're showing that you have the Excel skills, but you can teach. You have the communication skills to approach the person. You have the leadership skills to take charge, take initiative to make sure it gets done correctly and with everybody as part of the group. And so specifically that situation highlights a couple of different things. In an interview for American, which I knew beforehand that is very much a department that I would be working in, where you're working with several people and you're dealing with a lot of complex legalities. You need to be able to communicate well, take lead of situations, and you need to be able to teach people things that you may be stronger in than others. So it highlights several situations that I know American would like. So that is one example. Your situations may be different, but you can still come up with things that, situations, first questions that highlight your strengths. A combination of several things. First off, show up on time, dress the way that you're supposed to for a business interview. Don't be that person who comes in blue jeans and a t-shirt for a office job or a job that is going to be around higher level professionals in an industry. You want to show that you have studied the company, their slogans, mottos, mission statements, because that shows that you have an interest in the company itself. Come in with a notebook. Come in with something that you can take notes of the interview, shows that you're willing to learn from the interview itself. Don't be a slouch. Get up straight. Show that you're more confident even when you're nervous. Get up straight and show that you can work through that. And then the last one is get practice. You're going to interview for several companies probably before you actually get a job. In America, at least, it is very competitive, especially the airline industry. Very hard to get in. And for my job specifically, when I was hired, they hired 10 people, but there was, I think, 10,000 applications. 100 people were interviewed and they took 10. It's very competitive. You're going to be competing with a lot of people, so you need to make sure that you practice, take notes in your interview so you can help yourself improve in future interviews. And then when you ask questions that make them know that you want to learn about the company. Best advice is just do it. You're going to have to get practice in interviews. You are going to be nervous your first interviews. So the best advice I can give you for a first time interview is to do the things I've already been talking about. Practice the situations for the STAR method. Look into the company that you're going to be there. You want to be prepared. You don't want to go into an interview without knowing what to expect from the position you are applying for. You're not going to have a good chance of getting the job if you go into a job interview and you don't know what the position does or what the position expects from you as an individual working there. Even though it's your first interview and you know you're going to be nervous, prepare and go in. You may apply for the same position 3, 5, 6 times. That's okay. If it's a position you want, like, you're going to get better with each interview. Don't put off applying or doing the interview because you think that you'll be better prepared in the future, because you're never going to be able to get that practice from the job interview without actually doing the job interview itself.
Thank you so much to our kind guests for joining us in today's episode. Now we know the effective ways on how to write a good resume and how to ace your interview. The chances for us to get hired are now in our fingertips. We still have the next episode, so make sure that you stay tuned and see you again in the next one. Bye!